Good morning, everybody, or I guess happy lunch. We're going to give this a couple more minutes before we get going here, so just hang tight and let a few more people get logged in, and we'll get this thing running. All right, got a little flurry of people showing up, so I'm going to give it one more minute, and then we'll let them get settled in, and then we'll get started. All right. Good morning, afternoon, everybody. This is Sasha. Welcome to the Sasha session. It's been a little over a year since we did this last time, and a few things have happened in the last year and a half or so on RetailEdge. Our programmers and have been locked up, chained to their desks, and busy programming, doing all the work that people have been asking for. And today is a day of review, and then we're going to get into talking about kind of where we're going. We'll open this up at the end for question and answer. Idea of this session is to keep it about an hour. That way we're not taking away too much from your day, but also give you a good overview of what changes have happened, what you have available to you, and take advantage of sessions afterwards. We can do one-on-ones and coordinate training sessions on key features and functionality that you want to learn more on. So as you've been sitting here waiting patiently, one of the things you've seen is our new customer display screen. I am going to come back to this and talk about this in depth, but for those of you that like little LED displays on the backs of your monitors or little tower poles that can have video, this is what the new display screen does versus the old two-line digital vacuum form looking displays that remind you of a 1970s alarm clock. So I'm going to minimize this and jump right into RetailEdge. So first thing is overall look has changed, but I'm going to kind of break this up into a lot of little sections. So the biggest is help. We've really spent a lot of time on our help menu, and we want to give you the user more access to us. And from the help button up here, there used to be 5 things in this list. Obviously, there's a lot more. What's new takes you to our blog. I'm sure a lot of you have used the help contents where you can search on a keyword of try to find the step-by-step on how to do things. But did you know that you can submit a support request right from the help menu? Just by filling in your store name, who you are, what you are, where you are. What's the issue? Is it a sales issue? Is it a sales-related emergency? If it's a sales-related emergency, we really do prefer you call. But sometimes email is good to back it up. But for those little things that are nags that you just need to get in, or you want to reach out to us or to discuss another issue, plug it in, send it to us. This goes to support and sales team, and we will address it. This is a great way to get a hold of us. Other things, is your staff all on the email list? Do they know about all the different events and everything that we have going? If they don't, just go to help within RetailEdge and sign up for email updates and have your staff plug in their email, or plug in their email for them. Do they know about the updates? Do they know about the features? Do they know about the Sasha session? Do they know about the video channel that we have? What is it that they need access to? And are they not getting the information? That's one of the biggest things that we are having an issue with overall, is how do we get in front of the right person? A lot of times the only contact email we have is owner or the accountant, but the people running the store or the front line may not be getting the updates as to what's going on within RetailEdge, features and functionality that is really relevant to them. So my recommendation is sign them up, get them on that list so that they're just as well as aware as everything else is happening as you are. So training videos. When the help file is not helping, we do have a whole YouTube channel, and this is all done by Anthony, produced by Anthony, 100% Anthony, and these little YouTube videos are crazy helpful. They're all very step-by-step. The longest video is 6 minutes, and that's just because there's a lot more detail in it, and that's related to a Shopify integration. The average video is about 3 minutes, and it makes it so much easier to walk through the steps and figure out how to do something. And these are things from how to do imports, exports, how to create discount rules, how to set up your RetailEdge workstation so that you can email receipts to your customers. Now, if you're not utilizing these tools, the how-to is all right here. We have a new error log as well. So if you are getting an error, it's great, because now you can figure out, we can help you what's going on. And then they also send file to support. Hit next. If you get a error file, or if you have a backup you want to send, or a file that you're having issue with, or you're trying to work on an import export, once again, you can email us the file. Just fill out your store name email, give us the name, attach the file, no different than attaching an attachment on an email, and hit send. This will go to us. We'll get it, and then we can start working on it. It's a great tool to get us the information you need to provide. So help menu, please. There's lots of resources here. Take advantage of them, use them. But all the tools that you need are at your fingertips. I mean, it used to be that the only thing that was here was how to get technical support. Log me in. But now there's everything that's here. The online manual, training videos, links to the forums, back to the program updates. It's all here. So great tools, please use them. Let's talk sales. Sales has changed, and obviously the buttons on the screens have changed, and everything looks different. So for those that are old school, we have the good old traditional sales screen. And if I use this little arrow on the side, I can show you what windows are open. Some of the biggest things that have happened is CC processing. A lot of the credit card processing, a lot of the hardware is starting to age out. So there's a big changeover in what the hardware availability is going to be. Those that are using like the VX805, for example, that device is coming to the end of its life. New devices are replacing it. If you're not using integrated processing, I'd recommend you look into it. Just verify that you're going to get a good rate or whatnot. But most importantly, the functionality that the processing is going to provide you is also going to streamline your operation. So new hardware, a lot of the companies are putting out new hardware that are all Apple Pay, Google Pay, Samsung Pay, all chip enabled, tap the card. And another thing to look at is, do you have a stand on your counter that your credit card terminal is mounted to? So if you don't have a stand, that device is flopping all over the place. The nice thing about the stands is that the base plate is universal. It's the standard stand, but the mounting plate that connects the credit card terminal I just dropped. Sorry about that. All right. Credit cards. If you're doing integration, are you aware that you can keep kind of a credit card on file without, quote, keeping a card on file? Because of tokenization, you can reuse a customer's last card. This is a great tool when you're needing to do a return back to a card. If the customer's name was on the original transaction, you can associate a return or the next transaction to an existing card. Great tool. It saves you money because now you don't have to manually hand key a card if you needed to, because obviously if you're hand keying, you get hit with a different rate. And if you're, like every other business and every penny counts, you don't want to get hit with that. All right. Payment methods in the quick list. So this is the traditional sales screen, obviously, and this has got the unlimited. But if I go and the payment methods, but if I go to the quick list, I now have, it looks like, 6, 7 pages, but I can go out to 20. And I'm going to show this as well in the new traditional or the touch-based sales screen. There are now 20 pages of buttons that you can create. So what we used to have was 140. We now have 280 buttons. Handy if you have a lot of items that you need to have buttons for. If you don't need that many buttons, just use the first 10 because the first 10 pages are the ones that are visible. After that, you just need to scroll over. Not a terribly big deal. And I'm going to jump over to the sales touch. I want to show everybody this. Okay. This is actually the new sales touch screen. We're playing with something right now. So this is kind of a sneak peek. And you'll see a lot of what was always been there. Customer, items, and here we go. Here's our buttons, lots of them, and I can just hit this arrow button. And this is just like on yours, and now I can see the other pages. Here you go, pet store items, and add it right into the sale. So these features are here, and when we get to the payment option, please ask the customer if they'd like to do a donation. If you're not doing donation roundup, you can. If you've got an organization or a charity you want to round up to, just create a donation item, add it to your sale. That's what's going on in this demo data. From here, you can see that there are multiple buttons that you can choose from here within the sales screen. So there's lots and lots of things to ask that you have access to now when it comes to extra payments. A lot of stores don't even do the whole Visa, MasterCard, Amex anymore. They just have the one button called credit just to thin things out. You'll notice that in my demo data here, I've created spaces between my buttons. This is something else you can do to help clean up your sales screen. These are little tips and tricks to help you clean up your sales screen to make you more efficient. If you have items that you're always selling multiples of, I think a lot of you know about under the miscellaneous tab when creating an item, you can prompt for quantity. But did you know that you can enter the quantity and then hit but if you hit the space before you scan the item, then you'll actually add that quantity to the item. So if I were to type in 6 space and then scan the item, now I would be doing 6 quantity of whatever that item is. So if I did 6 space, I'll just hit the, there we go, 6 at $4.99 on the Rough Dog Chew Treats. So this is another little trick that's been there for, well, it's actually part of the newer release, but it's something that, once again, we're not sure people even know about. Within the sales process, EBT, anybody who's doing food and whatnot, EBT tracking, that is all there. So if we go back to some food items here, if you are a food shop of any sort, and I pick up a produce item, and I'll just grab 8 of them, or $8, this item is EBT eligible, and it shows up down here on the bottom. I can get an EBT subtotal as I'm running. So now I can break out my EBT from the rest of my transaction. The loyalty balance on receipts, if loyalty is a big thing in your store and you're actually using the RetailEdge built-in loyalty program, the loyalty balance now does show up on the receipt, so the customer knows what they have left over and to carry over as they're walking out the door. So it's basically enabling it within a checkbox within the workstation settings, and that would be an advanced receipt option under receipt options 1. The closing report. We've had a lot of people over the years ask, how do I know if I'm over or short? There is now an over short report within our reporting. So at the end of the day, when you do run your close, you can actually run the over short report as well from the reports and get an idea of how bad you're off. Hopefully it's in your favor because nobody likes being short. And another big one for sales process improvements is the dashboard. We totally revamped the RetailEdge dashboard last year. Works with Android, as it always has. We actually discovered there was some variants of Android with some of the tablets that we didn't account for, but now we're all good. But you now have the ability to track and look at your sales with department level tracking to see where you're at by department. Dashboard is free to any RetailEdge customer who is on a minimum of a silver or gold service plan. If you're not using the dashboard and you have a smartphone or a tablet or a computer that is not in the building and you want to be connected to what your store is doing in real time, you're missing out. You need to be using this tool. It is the greatest little tool for when you're not in the store. It's been jokingly called the Where We At app. Because a lot of store owners will call in and first thing they ask is, where are we at? This way they can hit the app and know exactly where you're at before you have to do anything. If the store looks good, they can move on with their day. Take a day off. It's okay. So yeah, updated dashboard. All right, so quick review on sales process. If you're not using CC integration, look into it. But big plus on that is you have the ability to reuse cards on file. Great for those that are doing recurring. More payment methods, double the quick list. Little quick tip on entering the quantity over short report, dashboard revamp, EBT for those that need it, and loyalty. So task efficiencies. We got a request a while ago from a customer who's actually on this call that it would be really nice if I could scan a whole bunch of items into the sales screen and click a button that says add to transfer order or add to purchase order. We thought about it. Well, that sounds like a really good idea. We should do that. So if I were to grab a whole bunch of items, and we'll just do 8 again, and let's get some jewelry items in here. There we go. I got a whole bunch of items in here. I can now go to options and I can copy to TO or I can copy to PO. This is in the current RetailEdge settings. So if you want to copy this to a transfer order or to a purchase order, if you're a multi-location business, copying this to a TO is great. Everything you need to send over, scan it in, copy it, done. I need to copy it to a PO, I can do that as well. When copying to a TO, literally hit the button. I got a rental item in there. I can't do that one particular item, but same pop. I get a nice little list of what am I about to copy. Perfect. TO, I got to give it a number. So I will call it. I'll give it the name of, how about just test TO. And create new TO. From and to, oh, guess what? You can't have the from and to the same anymore. We fixed that. Apparently people were trying to transfer from the warehouse to the warehouse. So, and this is a single location database I'm not going to show you. But you need to be able to, you can now transfer out to where you want to go, and you're good from there. Copying to a PO, same process. Pick my vendor. If it's a new vendor, I can create the PO. If I'll do this from Billabong, PO number, test PO, and create. And I'll call this that pre-book. Good to go. All right. That item has now been added. I've got a new PO. So this is going to help you be more efficient if you're walking around the store with a tablet and you just want to scan items of what you're low on, or if you need to do a transfer and people are bringing you product, you're going to walk around and grab a bunch of product you need to send over. This is there. Another tool, and let me get out of here. I'm going to hit close form on this. Yes, good. And go back to the main screen. Another tool for efficiency is a lot of people over the years have complained that they have too many windows open and they don't know what's what and what's where. Well, now, if you look on the left-hand side, you can see what's open. And by using this little arrow, I can make it big, I can make it small. So, little features, but they have a lot of bang. We also have created some other tools. Now, one of them is a PO import tool. This is ideal for simple items. So clothing is a complex item that is size and color. So you could have variables or variants, and we call it the matrix. So that's a complex item. But a simple item like a dog treat, if you're a toy store, a wooden train. If you're an apparel store and you're not dealing with sizes or color, but it's like, a purse and that is the item, then it works great. And this is basically takes your items, puts them into an Excel file that you can modify and manipulate. And then we have a wizard that you can import items in. It's been a good tool. It's still a little rough, but it's a custom tool that we built for somebody else, and it's kind of getting out into the wild. We'll hopefully have this tool as something that we're going to be adding into core RetailEdge at some point too. Picks. Another big efficiency thing is people, how do I know what's really in my picks list? What's going on with picks? If you're not familiar with picks, picks is the built-in utility called Physical Inventory Collection Software. And it's a utility that's built into RetailEdge to allow you to do a physical inventory. And under the word inventory, if I go to picks, edit, I can see what's in my picks list. Now, you can scan directly into here. It used to be that you would only see the stock number, the quantity, and the description. And if there was no description, that meant the item was a bad item, meaning it wasn't recognized. It was an exception. Now, we flag them red. That item is now flagged red as a bad item. And we have an exception reason. Why was it bad? It's not found. Other reasons, and this is great. It's a matrix parent. Why did you scan a sticker for a matrix parent? That's a great question. I don't know. Bad stock type is another example. A bad stock type would be something like a rental item or a non-stock item. Non-stock being something you sell but do not physically count. And if you're scanning directly into picks, this is great, because now you can make your corrections on the fly and be much more efficient. If you are doing picks, are you using a scanner? If so, what scanner? If you're using the CipherLab 8000 series, the new 8100, the new model, actually is a pistol grip with a brighter screen. So if you have the older battery option, it takes the AAAs, and that one's starting to get a little long in the tooth, or you're just like me and your vision's getting worse and the screen's not bright enough for you, the new pistol grip model with the brighter screen is much nicer. You can still do things like pair a simple scanner to a phone. You can still use a tablet, walk around and scan directly into picks. All those tools are still available to you, but the new tool that was released this last year is the new CipherLab with a pistol grip, so you can actually walk and be quicker as you're doing it. So just another tool that's out there. All right, let's keep talking UI. we made so many improvements to the point where people absolutely lost their mind when they saw what we did to the program. We changed the graphics. We changed where things are at. Well, kind of. They're still there. They just look different. So what we've got now is, updated graphics. We have this ability for this left-hand tray, so I can see, what's open and what's not easily. It used to be, in order to know what you had open, you had to go to the word Windows, and you would see what windows were open. Now, I can see everything that I've got open just by clicking over here. So receiving, purchase orders, reports. Look at that. I know exactly what I've got going. And if I want to not use that much real estate, I can minimize it and make this bigger. This is handy if you're on a 15-inch monitor at your register and you still need to see what's going on, what you have open in the background, but you don't want to give up too much space. Another big one has been under the inventory manager section, and this is going to be right here. Oh, that's receiving. Let's go to inventory. I'm going to go full screen on this. We've always had the split screen, and the split screen is great because whatever I highlight on top shows me the detail down below. Quantity, local sales, quantity history. This is the tattletale. This has gotten more employees fired than anything because it shows every movement of an item throughout the store. But if this list is, if you're on a smaller monitor, this list can get kind of short. By using this down arrow here on any manager screen, I can now make the list full size. Huge, huge difference. I can see a lot more and bring it right back to where it was. So if you're not using these tools, they're there. Another one for those like me who are have progressed to progressive bifocals. Under Tools, Settings, Workstations, modify your workstation. Under the Miscellaneous tab, there is a grid font size. So if the font on your manager screens you feel is small, increase the font size. Go up to 10, go up to 11. Do something bigger so that you can see it. If you go, obviously, the larger you go in the font size, the less lines you'll have per grid. And if you're on a smaller screen, you may lose the amount of items displayed, but at least you can read them. So this is under Tools, Settings, Workstations, and it's under the Miscellaneous tab, and it's a new field that was added, the grid font size. And you'll notice it's red, meaning it is a required field. So what size do you want your font? Play with it, try it out. It's kind of a good tool. All right. Over to, I'm going to come back to this one. Let me cancel out of here. All right, so fancy receipts. If you're not using the tools that there, once again, under Tools, Settings, Workstations, I cannot tell you how many times we log into a system and we discover things like under receipt messages, their receipt still says, this is a sample receipt message, line 1 and line 2. Put whatever you want here. Make it fun. I know we've seen some crazy stuff too, Thank you for shopping at. You bought it, it's yours. Don't blame us if your poor taste is not appreciated by those around you. You can have some fun with this, but also it's a policy, so you do need to have it somewhat in line. But when it comes to the receipt options, have you ever noticed that there's weird characters or a lot of sales tax information that's probably not necessary because you live in a state where there's only one sales tax? Well, under Receipt Options 1, Advanced Receipt Options, check or uncheck the box of anything you want or do not want to show on your receipt. Customer related. Look at this. Do I want to show the ship to, the gift card sold, loyalty balances? Down here, detailed tax info. Include item ID. If you don't need to show this stuff, uncheck it. It will shorten up your receipts. You know, we don't need to compete with CVS for who can use the most paper on a receipt. You know, work smart. So uncheck and check and use what you want here. Barcode, if you're not using the barcode feature, it's there. Check it. Now, barcode feature is only going to show up if you are using a nicer looking receipt, which would be the tape style Windows printer driver. If you are using the old style of tape style serial via Windows printer driver, this is going to be a simple, you know, very old school looking receipt. The tape style via Windows printer driver is going to be bolded out in certain sections. You're going to be able to see things. It's got a much nicer formatting. So if you have a USB printer that is connected or a network printer that is connected to that computer, the Star, the Toshiba, the Epson, you know, all the go-to printers, POSIX, they all work in this manner. Try using the new features. If you're using a Star, you know, and any of these other printers, they also have the ability to add logos to the driver. And then the Star's got a nice little feature where you can actually reduce the line spacing within the driver and shorten your receipts by, you know, 3 to 4 inches. Less paper, less money you're shelling out. That's good. All right, let me get out of there. So receipts, make them fancy. Font size. Here's the grids if you need to. We have the menu options, so these little arrows are handy. Genius. For those that are using global payments as their credit card processor, or Cayenne as they used to be called, they have a feature called LID, Line Item Display. That is a workstation setting. And this little feature is kind of cool. Instead of having to have the 2-line display on the back of your computer or the pole, if I go to credit card 1 of 2 and choose the option for global payments TSYS and edit those station settings, I have the ability to use as line item display by checking that box. This will allow you to, as you scan items, the items will show up on the display, telling the customer how much each item is as it's being rung up. Prevents you from having to have a pole or a tower on your back of your, or something on the back of your computer. You can utilize the tools you have. So if you're not using LID and you use Cayenne Global, take advantage of it. It's as simple as checking a box. The bigger one is the LEDs. People have been asking for, I want a display on the back of my machine or a secondary display that can show me a lot of functionality and features. All right, so we have that now. And what you saw during the warm-up was our secondary display doing its thing. So I'm going to do a quick refresh of RetailEdge, get out of here. There we go. And if I just give it a little bump, and my settings are going to come back to life. Here we go. Let's go to, oh, where did my display go? I think I pulled it off. Oh, there it is. I pulled it off. If I come back to here, here is my new secondary window. I can make it whatever size I need to. I have the ability to add all sorts of functionality to it. So when it's in idle mode, it can show videos. It can display slideshows. It can do quite a lot with this thing. I can set up the amount of space I want to show and use just by, and I'm going to drag this back over like it's on another monitor. There we go. All right, drag you back. If I go to Tools, Settings, Workstations, modify again, there's a new tab titled Customer Display. So obviously you need to enable it. I can change the font size of what I want to use. I can show statuses. And this is while in idle modes. There's 2 tabs down here, idle mode and during sales. What do I want the word to say? Do I want it centered? Do I want it? What do I want to do with this? What files do I want to show if I've got media going on a secondary part of it? So as I'm ringing things in, you can see what's happening. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to actually drag this back so you can see it, and make it just a hair smaller. So we're going to put this here like it's on the back of my monitor. I'm going to open up the sales screen, and if I click a button here, choose an item, there we go. Now I can see processing sale, there's my item, subtotal, and this is what the customer would see on the back. Now this information here is something I would pre-program, so I can set up all my different locations. I can set up any other information I want to do here. As I add items, everything runs in. If I were to grab a food grocery item and grab some beef hot dogs and there we go. So I can see everything that's happening. Once again, and of course my EBT total is over here. So we're good. So this is a new feature. Now this hardware is, if you have a little LCD, that if you have a all-in-one unit like a POSX or a Partner Tech or some of the other models that are out there, there are 10-inch rear displays that can be mounted on. You can also do something fairly inexpensive. On our website, under the RetailEdge store section, we have things like the Evo 8-inch USB LCD pole with stand. So you could actually mount something like this with a pole on it, and then it could be facing any direction you want. But that's a nice little 8-inch display that will give you this look and feel. So features that are available to you and functionality that you probably didn't know that was there. All right, let's let Joseph in. All right, so we've got a lot of hardware. So that's the LED customer display, and then the sales screen kind of touched base on this. There is a lot going on here. New buttons, new form, new shape. This is coming up in an upcoming release. The current sales screen is both, we still have the traditional and we have the touch-based in the form that you have, but this is kind of a sneak of where we're going. So you're seeing things that are not quite ready for prime time, but we're getting there. All right, inventory. If you're selling items that you're not sure on the cost and you know what it needs to sell for, but you have a department behind it that you have an average margin on, we have a feature that we put in years ago called dynamic cost. It was originally created for those that do consignment where there's haggling, but maybe you need to do something that's, you got to put something in and you just need to sell it, and you can set the price up so that you at least get your margins calculated properly no matter what you sell it for, or if you have to change your pricing. So by using this option here, dynamic cost, this has been here for a while, but if I check this box, dynamic cost, this uses the department margin, and you need to set the average cost, and that's if you set the average cost to 0. So if I had a $100 item and my department margin was 40, then when I sold this item, it would show up as a cost of 60. Just a little trick, but if you're doing consignment or you're doing any haggling, or you just need to set up a random item that you can, you're not sure on the cost on the items. If you're doing custom clothing, but you know what you need to sell it for and you need to back to a margin, these little tools will help you at least keep your books a little more in order, so you won't have such skewed values. All right, get into the boring stuff like ordering and reports, because that's always the spending money part. Are you using the auto generate POs feature? If you're not, why not? If you're an apparel store, I get it, because you're fashion and things go in and out so fast. But if you're selling a lot of the same things over and over and you're not auto generating POs, then you're spinning your wheels, because you're having to do the same things every week to figure out what you need to order. Use your min maxes, set up min max levels, and the new auto generate PO utility that's that has been there forever, based on min-max or based on sales, but this got added. Include the on-order quantities to order calculation. Everybody knows that the supply chain is in bad shape at the moment, and what you ordered is not necessarily what you're going to get. And if you're using POs, you're going to show a lot of things that are still on order. Well, you don't want to be reordering the same thing over and over and over again. So now you have the ability to include the on order from previous orders within your reorder calculations. Do not, use it. Multi-location, the transfer functionality. Now, another thing that people are probably not utilizing is under reports, the entire suite of reorder. So under the inventory items, reorder, restock. Now, this is great because I can see what I've got and what I need to go. What needs to go where. But I also have this warehouse transfer. This is more of a load balancing. So I can now figure out what I need to move around from store 1 to store 3 to store 5. Balance out my inventory with what I have rather than spending more money to go buy more inventory. Because if store 1 sold all theirs out and store 5 still has some, why do I want to reorder more for store 1 if store 5 is not selling it? Use the warehouse transfer functionality, load balancing. By setting up your min-maxes at the different locations, you can now balance the amount of product that you're going to have coming from, balance your amount of your product and set up auto transfers. And it's an auto magic in the sense that you still have to do the work, but you can do a auto-generated TO based on min-max. And this is the report that's going to tell you what you're going to do. Vendor manager improvements. Actually, let me go back to auto-generating POs. Reorder min-max. You're not using this report once again. These are things you should be looking at so you know what it is you're about to do. You need to see this information. Or if you're just reordering based on sales, then use these reports. Figure out what you sold so you know what you need to restock back to. If you're not using min-max, at least replenish what you got. If you're a store that is on a replenishment style or a selling the same products over and over. Once again, if you're a fashion boutique, it's one and done. It's going to be gone. You're already on to the next season. But if you are, I got to assume, like all boutiques, you have products that are your staples that you're known for always having. Make sure those are on hand always and you're stocked accordingly. Vendor manager. This is a silly one, but under vendor manager, we've always had this field here for terms. So what are my net terms? Oh, someone's got their video on. Those terms fields never showed up on a PO. So now when you create a PO, I go to purchase orders. This field right here is now populated from what was in the vendor manager. Don't know why we didn't do it before, but it was a request. The RetailEdge, I wish RetailEdge could email that went out. This was in there in the list, and now it's in the program. It is part of the core program. Somebody else had asked for notes. Right here, notes vendor, notes store. That's the PO list. Let's go back to vendor manager. And if I go back to the vendor manager, I can run over. I can have my notes visible on the vendor from this field. It used to be what's called a memo field, meaning it was buried inside the manager. So I had to actually drill in and look at it. Now I can actually see my notes over here. But if those notes are way over here and I got to scroll to the right, I'm never going to see them. You can rearrange your columns however you want. And however you rearrange them, they will stay. This goes for all manager screens. If you don't like the order in which the inventory manager is laid out, rearrange it. You don't like the way the customer manager is laid out. Rearrange it. Grab the header, move the column. Simple as that. These will stay, and the trick to making them stay is properly exit RetailEdge and properly exit the form. If you exit the form by hitting exit here, and at the end you exit out of RetailEdge, those settings are going to be stuck. They're going to be remembered from the last time and where they were at. Same goes true for memorized reports. For those reports that you run all day, all the time, are you memorizing them? Do you create, or do you go in and have to create a crazy report and do it from memory each time? What filters and features you put into it? Why? Just create the report one time. Once you run the report, go to memory reports and hit save last report, give it a name, save it, and you're done. Then the next time you run that report, all you have to do is change the date range. All right. Add-ons. Let's keep on moving here. We're at 9:45. We're going a little, well, we started a little late, but we're almost done. All right, add-on features. Recap. Down below, we've had this button here for a while. A lot of people aren't sure what it is. Recap. It's short for RetailEdge Central Applications Platform. Think of it like a launch pad. Everything comes out of Recap. Let me drag Recap over because it likes to open up on a second window. So these are third-party programs that we talk to. Shopify, we have an email receipt utility. Management One, if you're not utilizing Open to Buy and planning, and knowing what you have coming and what your and managing your cash flow, this group will help you. Obviously, we have the reports that will do it for you too, but this integration is there. This is where you set up your dashboard settings. Locally and Brandify, you know, check them out. They're actually, these are Locally and Brandify are free to anybody who is on a gold plan. QuickBooks Online is here and will remain here because the traditional is built into the program. We needed to make the online version just slightly different. All right, got a weird refresh going here. Let me drag that off to the side. There we go. All right. So with Recap, are you using these? Are you using any of these tools? If not, why? You know, everybody on this call should be at least using Dashboard. If you're not, you know, check yourself, because that tool alone is going to help you manage your store when you're not there. All right. Custom programming. We have a lot of people who have been asking for features and functionality that are not necessarily part of the core product. So is there something that you need? I mentioned the PO import utility. That was created for a customer, but the functionality of it made so much sense that we've now kind of spawned it out to a simpler version for other stores. The original version was very complex for a multi-location business with a lot of pricing variables. But we have a simple version as well. We've created that one, and you know, that's a utility that's out there. Is there a tool that you need to interface with another program? We have another client who is a big bookseller, and they needed access. They needed an integration to tie into a warehouse, so the warehouse knew what books to how to fulfill the orders. We made that bridge. Custom programming is something that we do all the time, and it doesn't have to be a complex thing either. It can be something as simple as, I want a label that looks like this. I don't like the pricing labels that are in RetailEdge. I want mine to look like something different. Great, we do custom labels all day long. Draw us what you want. Seriously, draw a rectangle, and with whatever color crayon you have handy, seriously, just mark what you want where. I want the stock number here. I want the price here. I want the barcode here. We want to do it that way so that we can manage expectations, and you're showing us exactly what you want. It doesn't have to be Picasso perfect. It just has to be a rough sketch so we know what we're trying to achieve. Having that in front of us makes a huge difference. All right. Hardware. Lots of new hardware has been changing with the advent of Windows 11. Windows 7 obviously being dead, 8 is about to go out the door, 10 is getting long in the tooth. So really start looking at hardware options as you need to upgrade. The big thing that has been the battle has been availability. And anybody who's had to reorder something like a Zebra printer this last year will know that we've just been sending out the part numbers because they're not available, or if you do find them, they're $150 to $200 more than they should have been. As a result of that, we now have a new label printer called Godex, Godex. Those printers are online, so we have a coupon code that we can use to help you on that to cut the cost down, our online pricing. But the Godex printers, they are USB and Ethernet, so they can be networked. By default, the base model is a network version, so you can print to one printer from any computer. The USB only model that Zebra has, workhorse of a printer, but it's hard to share across devices. So the new Godex actually solves that problem. Zebra does make an Ethernet version as well, and it's been quite popular with those that are using tablets or need to have a one-to-many or one printer to many computer setup. Other devices that we've added in, aside from the label printer, so the Toshiba, the receipt printer that we used for years was the Star and the Epsons. Toshiba came out with a new receipt printer that really fills in a nice void. So if you have to update a receipt printer, they've got USB and network. Once again, if you've got devices that need to be shared, the network printers make it easy. As I said earlier, the credit card companies are all kind of changing out their hardware. So just be aware of that. If you're using integrated processing, know that there's new hardware that could be coming down the line from your processor. Some of them are offering programs to help you incentivize you to upgrade that hardware. I know WorldPay, for example, is doing something for those that need to change out their hardware. So just be aware. The new devices, though, they all accept Apple Pay, tap, chip, and seriously, get the credit card stands that mount onto your counter. That way you're not having to handle and touch the device. It doesn't fall and flop around as much. It just keeps it in one place. It keeps it stable. DataLogic's got new scanner scales if you need them. And then scanning itself, it seems to be changing. The traditional 1D barcode with the laser scanner, a lot of things are moving over to the 2D. Having a 2D image scanner that can scan through glass, scan through a phone. Those scanners are becoming more popular. It looks like the entire industry is slowly making a shift over to 2D barcodes. So if you're needing to replace a scanner, I would go away from the 1D laser scanners and look towards 2D. Companies like DataLogic have a driver's license parsing program utility as well that we have access to. A lot more functionality in the 2Ds. You can embed a lot more in there as well. But like I said, that seems to be the shift where the industry is going. So if you have to replace hardware, plan accordingly. And then gift cards, we actually got a call the other day about somebody asking if they could do magnetic stripe gift cards. That really doesn't exist anymore because the gift card program is run through RetailEdge, and open unencrypted credit card readers are pretty dangerous. So we switched everything over to barcodes. 1D, 2D doesn't matter. But if you need gift cards, obviously those are there. So other things we've done this year, reports. We added or modified or tweaked over 50 different reports in the last year. These are coupon activities. So if you want to have discount roll reports and see how well a discount roll is really doing, that's there. Serial number log, best sellers by customer. So who are your best customers by profit, by price, by quantity? Who spends the most money with you? Actually, if you're using the wish list or the gift registry, better reporting there. The package report, PO inventory, price differential, the new exceptions reports within picks. The list goes on. Reporting is definitely a differentiator for RetailEdge because it's pretty robust. And as you know, every report can be exported into Excel. So you can then do whatever you want. If you're not using the compound reports in RetailEdge, you should be. It's just one of those. why aren't you? Sold through, sell through, turn rate. I mean, if you're not using these, please, you're going to get so much better information. So that's it on that section. The last little bit is kind of a roadmap. I wish RetailEdge could. Well, in 8.278, which is an upcoming version of RetailEdge, it's not ready for release yet, but it's one that we're currently working on with programming. There are currently 10 user suggestions in just that list alone, in that release alone. We've already incorporated like 20 something from the last RetailEdge could. I wish RetailEdge could, which was not that long ago. And these were a lot of little simple add a checkbox, manipulate this, just little simple things that we were able to add through. We're going to be adding a lot more reporting functionality in the upcoming releases. And as you saw within the sales report, new sales screen, the UI is going to be changing. Now it doesn't mean you have to use it, because there is the sales screen. There's the sales touch. Actually, let me go back to workstation settings, modify. And if I go to the miscellaneous tab, I can use the touch-based sales screen that we've always had, which is the full screen. I can use the traditional, which a lot of people have had. That's the one that's been there forever. But then I've got this resizable one as well. And if I choose the resizable touch-based sales screen, for those that are making sales, there we go. This is the same screen we've had that you're used to, but now I can keep it in a touch base in a window, and I can now have access to all my buttons still. Kind of a nice little feature, because one of the complaints we've had from the touch-based sales screen, full screen mode, is that I don't have access to the tools I need to when I need to get access to them. This now gets you both. All right, and another little sneak peek. Once again, not ready for prime time. We're testing it right now, and still testing it and finding little features and issues with it. But we're working through it, and we're hopefully going to have this out in the upcoming release. Is a new search tool. And if I were to go to Inventory Manager, full screen, hit find. We've had this default to combo search, meaning I can look at any field, the description, the stock number, vendor. But now I've got a new search type. Find any of the search words, find all of the search words, an interior pattern match, find from the beginning, or an exact match. What kind of searching are you looking for? So if I do any of the search words, I can now type in something like, I will type in shade space lamp. Oh, there's lamp, and then there's shade. And there's shade and lamp. I didn't put them in the same order that they're actually written in. Oh, and then there's clamp. Any of the search words. Once again, it's going to prioritize based on what we think is what you're looking for. Lamp and shade. So this is kind of something new that people have been asking for a while, and we're testing it right now. So with that said, we got a little sneak peek of things that we're working on. We're hopefully going to have a release. Right now, I'm going to be vague and say before the end of the year. But as you know, we do a lot of blackout on releases during certain holidays like Thanksgiving and Christmas. So there's windows of opportunity between now and Thanksgiving, and a small window between Thanksgiving and Christmas, but we don't want to put anything big out that could impact holiday sales. So with that said, I would like to open up the floor to the chat and questions. Anybody's got one? All right. Actually, I'll just run through.
Yeah, so Jason had good question when you're talking about pics. How do you use a phone or tablet to scan into pics?
All right. So phones are really kind of the easy, dumb devices. They have a little program called Notes. You can take literally any Bluetooth scanner that you can pair to a phone, no different than pairing headphones. You can find these little cheap devices on Amazon for about $45, $50. Technically we don't support the scanner, but if the scanner scans the barcode and the number represents a number that's the barcode value or a stock number in RetailEdge or UPC, it's fine. And what you do is you scan into Notes and you email yourself that file. And from there, you can go into inventory, pics, import, and you can import the file. So you would email yourself the file off your phone, open up your email on the computer that RetailEdge is on, and from there, save that file and then import it in. The difference, though, is when you import a file like that, it's going to be what's called a one prompt, meaning every scan represents a quantity of one. There is not a traditional SKU, quantity. So the file is going to just look like a barcode number, and then the next line will be a barcode. So it'll be a whole list of barcode numbers. So you would just need to change your import type to generic CSV SKU. And from there, it will just import it straight in. Tablet, two ways. You can use the notes field. You can use, or if you have RetailEdge set up on that tablet and it's and it's a Windows tablet, obviously. If it's a non-Windows tablet, then you need to use the notepad function. But if it's a Windows tablet, put RetailEdge on the tablet, save yourself the import-export option, and just go right into pics directly. Pics edit, hit add, scan away. Just start scanning. Every scan is still going to be a representation of one. If you have multiple quantities, you can always go back and change the quantity. Change that to 5, enter, done, and now I've got 5. So that would be those are two real simple ways to utilize tablets. Same thing holds true for laptops. If you've got a laptop that you want to use for pics, if you don't have a tablet function. Microsoft came out with the Microsoft Surface a few years ago. And then they added the Surface Go, G-O. That device is a 10-inch tablet that is $399. It gives you full functionality to RetailEdge, and the last time I checked, that's about the same price as a base iPad, but this will give you full RetailEdge functionality. Pair that up with a Bluetooth scanner and put something like some sort of fancy wrap on it, a case. Like Urban Armor Gear makes phone cases. They also make tablet cases. Put a case like that on it so you can hold it easily with one hand. If you're using network devices like network receipt printers, network label printers, then you can walk around and really use the tools to reprint labels, or run receipts, do line busting. So, but back to your pics question, yeah, that would be scan right in. All right, what else we got, Kayla?
Jason also asked, is there a way to just feed from the warehouse instead of balancing it?
So we're talking auto pushing things over. Yeah. You can actually, if the warehouse is going to be feeding out to the different stores, once you set up the min max at each store, then the warehouse will, then the auto, go back to that report. Oops, too far. Reports. This is going to be under inventory, reorder, restock, warehouse transfer based on, and this will be based on sales. Exclude 0 sales. I'm going to do department only because I only have one location. It's not going to show right, but I'm going to just change my date range to this year, just to show some stuff here. Yeah, let's go full screen. This would create a report based. This one's sorted by department. You can sort it by vendor however you want to, but this at least gives you how many you got to come from and how many you need to how many are in the from location based on what you sold, how many you need to transfer to that location. So you could create that. We are not big fans of the auto-magically making something happen and forcing something on you. We are a big fan of giving you the information so you can make a good decision and go from there. So maybe not every item does need to go to the warehouse or go out to the store level. Maybe that item is needs to be recalled. Maybe that item is a winter sock and you're in summer and you happen to sell some winter socks because they were on clearance. So things like that, but not an automagic, but definitely will give you the information that you can then create the transfer and then from there adjust accordingly. So thank you, Jason. What else we got, Kayla?
Hey, somebody asked, can we get a fingerprint scanner to use instead of the user clerk ID password? We got that a couple times in the I wish RetailEdge could.
We've had that. Yeah, so that was a big one in the retail. I wish RetailEdge could. I'm going to do what's called a bump on that, and that means that I am going to go into our tracking system of features and functions that need to be added, and I'm going to bump it. Yes, it's something that we would like to see added into the program, and that would essentially help speed up some of the process. So we'll bump it back in. We've explored the option. We're trying to figure out how to make it work effectively. You know, if it's really just locking a person out of the program, if you're not using security, do so. And there are two types of security on the program. If you're worried about that, you can do what's called, and this is back to your workstation settings. You have clerk-based and one user. Clerk-based means obviously everybody's on it. Security has no friends, and everybody has everybody is challenged for a password every time they want to do anything. Not always fun. The one user or workstation-based security setting, check that box and you just set your timeout value. So if you're a back office system and it's your desk, this is great. You know, turn it on and only as long as you're logged in, whatever you have access to within the program, you can keep working and working, no problem. The moment you try to do an action that you do not have access to, maybe it's do a discount if you're a clerk or look at a report, you'll be challenged for a username and password. Now, that's the back office scenario. At the register station, one little tip is set this timeout value to a lower value. Instead of 15 minutes, make it 2 or 3 minutes. So if they're not actively using it, they're going to be prompted for a username and password. Also, when it comes to usernames and passwords, password is whatever the employee wants to make it. It's their job to remember it. It's not yours. But for the clerk list, the clerk name, use numeric values. Do something simple, 2, 3-digit numbers. The receipt name, last name, first name don't show up anyway. But if your clerk name is Joe, yeah, you're stoked. You've got 3 things you've got to type. But if your clerk name is Alexander and you've got to enter that every time you want to type, you want to get logged in, that's just going to slow down the process. So set the use numeric values for your clerk ID. Let the password be whatever the employee is going to remember. And then within your security settings, set activities that don't really require a security. Set them to 0 so you can be more efficient, like starting a sale. All right, what else we got, Kayla?
Okay, I'm not sure how many more you want me to do here, but because we are 10 minutes.
Let's run. We got, you know what? Looks like we got a whole bunch that just came in.
Okay, so what happened to the consignment stock type?
We've never had a consignment stock type. I've been here a few weeks, and that's something, it didn't disappear. We didn't have it. Now, we do the dynamic cost on a consignment item, but the real trick is if you've got regular product and consignment item, then you would just do like a prefix of CON or do a suffix of CON at the end of the item, so you can actually break those items out easier. Or if you've got regular items and consigned items in the same department, you might want to make a consignment department version. How do I do another tax? We have other tobacco products tax here in Nevada, I would like to have that on the receipt. Taxes is just simple as setting up a tax jurisdiction, tools, tax jurisdiction, and then adding in another tax. But if you need to add in another tax on existing items or certain types of items are exempt, you can always add what's called an exception. So think of it this way: when creating a tax, when creating an item for a store, every item is taxable at the highest rate, and then whatever that rate is, the base rate. But then you set the exception. So everything is taxable except the following items. And is it by department, class? Are you doing it based off of a stock type? How are you doing that? And then you can set up the value of what rate this other departments are going to get taxed. So everything is taxed at 5% in this case, except, and I could have items that are going to have maybe a 2% adder or another 5%. Now I can add in, or I can create a secondary tax rate and just add it to the location. So, but adding in the secondary sales tax, just go to tools, tax jurisdictions, add it, and then if you need more clarity, it's kind of, we need to know what the tax rates and what it is you're doing so we can really get you good information on that. Okay. All right.
You only have payment options for
Kayla?
cards. Caroline said, I live outside of the U.S. You only have payment options for cards. Are there any options for foreign cash transactions?
Well, we are a single currency program at the moment. Multi-currency is on the roadmap. I don't have a date as to when. I do know that it's on the roadmap and we are working on it. So cash conversion is really what it is. Caroline, that's a great question, and it's a big issue for our our customers down in the islands, especially when you've got people coming in from different areas or you've got two currencies you're running, and it is something we are working on. But we can get you more information. Feel free to email us sales@retailedge.com and we can talk offline on that one. All right.
It seems like the last one here, Jason said, a scanner issue I have run into is with more QR codes being put on product. My current scans read both the product barcode and the QR code. Anything I can do about that?
So QR codes are embedded information. Are we looking at using an image scanner? If we know if what is embedded in the QR codes that needs to be parsed out would be the question. Different scanners are going to treat that differently. We have that issue with when we do like registration for a trade show. We see QR codes, so we just need to know what information is being embedded and how does it need to be parsed out. Looks like
he doesn't need the QR code.
So it's grabbing the QR code
accidentally.
As well as accidentally. Well, the quick joke is 3 feet of rubber hose and you whack your employees with it and tell them to stop doing it. But the real answer is if you have a scanner that can pick that up, you probably have an image scanner that's grabbing it. Probably look at this. We'd have to know what type of scanner you have and send us some information, and we can look at see if there's a way to disable that functionality within the scanner itself by talking to the manufacturer. So that's probably where I would go with that. All right. Okay, Philip. Consignment problem is we put a cost at 0, then we sell it at our cost. It's not 0. 50 messes up the books. Dynamic cost would fix that. Yeah, this is exactly what dynamic cost does. It allows you to set the cost at time of sale, not at when you're creating the item. So the cost is always going to be 0 on the item, and you put a price on it, whatever price you sell it at, based on the margin of that department. So if you say that if your consignment split with your consignor is if you're doing 60-40, then it's going to be based on that margin. So if you're getting 40% and they're getting 60, then you would just set the margin accordingly, and whatever you sell it at, the cost would be back calculated at time of sale. That's important because in one particular environment, the consignment items have a range. They could be being sold. The consignor will tell the store, I want to sell this thing for 1,000, but I'll go as low as 900. Well, it's obviously going to be listed as 1,000, but if the customer wants to haggle and ends up going for 950, the cost would be based on the sale price of 950. So that the dynamic cost would absolutely solve your consignment problem, and that's exactly why it's there. So that's why we don't have a consignment stock type. We use dynamic cost to fill that out. All right. Well,
Okay.
we've got about 16, 17 minutes over, but that's normal.
That's good for
I
you,
want to
though.
thank everybody for coming. Yeah. And if you have any questions at all, please email Kayla at sales@retailedge.com. She'll be eagerly awaiting your emails and questions. And if you really want to have some fun, go to help and submit request. Hit next. And unless it's an support thing, come down here to contact sales department, fill out your information, and tell us what you need, and work straight out of RetailEdge and tell us what's going on. Also, get your employees up to date. The more educated, the more informed they are, the better off your store is going to be. Sign them up. Let them know what's going on as well. They need to be just as functional as you are. Good staff is going to mean good business, and we know how hard it is to have good employees right now. So let's keep everybody informed and educated as to what's going on, and give them access to the tools. If you need anything, reach out. We're here. And thank you all for attending. Greatly appreciated. All right. This Sasha session, it has been recorded. We are going to post it up on our YouTube channel shortly. So it will be there for anybody to review and go back to. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
All right, signing off.
Kayla, thank you.
Thank you,
All
Sasha.
right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye, guys.